everybody. Welcome to episode 88 of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's scared of the dark with me tonight?
Drift in an ocean of darkness, Michael King Hughes.
I'm Jeff Glines.
Yeah, we never tell anybody that we do that ahead of time, so don't feel bad.
Hey, I mean, whatever gets you through.
That's part of our ongoing joke. But before we get too far, Jeff, why don't you mention where people might know you from?
Yeah, you might know me from my podcast with two of my best friends called You Hate to See It. You can find us on any podcasting platform and all social media at Twitter at YOUH82CIT, and then just You Hate to See It on anything else.
And I was on that show, actually, not too long ago at the time of this recording.
Yeah, it was a good time. We got to nerd out and just be ourselves. It was great.
And I even have your other buddy, Nick, on one of my episodes that has not been released yet, but published. Or not published, but recorded. Maybe
it never gets released. Maybe it just disappears into the ether.
We all talked about Green Arrow and how we both like Black Canary a lot. I think that went on, if I remember correctly. She's really hot, that freaking comic. Okay, that's not why we're here. Before we get any farther, one thing I want to give a quick shout out to another podcast called Nerd Radio, N3RD Radio. He does a 12-hour podcast on Sundays where he streams and he talks about pop culture, movies, video games. So definitely check him out if you're looking for a lot of hours to fill. And you might be working on a Sunday night and you need something to do. So definitely check him out. There will be a link in the show notes for him. And Ashley, Mike, this is kind of your pick. So why don't you introduce what we're talking about tonight?
We're playing 2010's Alan Wake.
And there will be spoilers for Alan Wake in this game, so you hadn't played it yet, go play it, because we're going to dive deep into the story. We're going to talk all about what's happening and spoil this great game. So if you do care, you have been warned, but it came out in 2010, so it's 2020, so that's up to you. Enjoy the show. I'm so happy you picked this.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited that you guys brought me on for this one, because it's a game that I've always wanted to play, and I've never looked into it. Like, I've never watched any gameplay of it or anything. And then, yeah, you asked me to play it, and I was like, hey, I finally have a reason to actually sit down and play this freaking game.
This show is really good for that, I'm finding out. Like, we're kind of half planning out the next season, and I got all these games like, oh, I've always wanted to play this. Let's just put it on the show. That way I have to play it.
Yeah, it's great, except when it's not.
Yeah, except for those games that you just don't really want to dive into again.
Yeah, we've done a few really bad ones on this show, and I'm just I never want to play again in my life. But for the most part, it's been great. So most have been a ton of fun to play. Alan Wake was one that we were kind of brainstorming with it for Spooktober. Oh yeah, this is the first week of Spooktober. I was supposed to lead with that, but
so unceremoniously.
Yeah, it's been a long fucking week. What can I say?
Hey, I mean, October, my favorite month of the year.
Yeah, we're doing 7 weeks of Spooktober with 7 spooky extras, so 14 spooky. So you get plenty of spooky this year.
I've started affectionately referring to it as Spooktember and Spooktober.
I was going to say, if I am correct, there are not 14 weeks in October, but I guess, hey, 2020, anything's possible.
Well, we do 2 episodes a week, so that's why. There's 7 regular episodes of spooky games and 7 episodes of other stuff, a couple spooky comics, a couple spooky movies, and spooky mini games. Or spooky smaller games that are mini episodes.
Oh, I like it.
Most are recorded.
Look into those.
Everything recorded but 1 at this point, but okay, enough inside baseball. So Alan Wake, I think we kind of brainstormed this one together, but I fucking love this game. When it first came out, before I even knew a whole lot about it, I actually bought the collector's edition of this game. And anyone who knows me, which I don't know if I said this on the show, I don't buy any game like new. I don't really buy anything collector's edition. I always buy games under $20 and I buy them cheap. And I bought this the day it came out, and I don't know why.
What came in the collector's edition?
A book.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
yeah, she comes with a book. I don't remember what else. It came with a few other things. I don't really completely remember anymore because it's been a long time, but it did come with a code for the first DLC that didn't come out right away.
Did you get The Departure, the book? Is that what the book was called?
I don't remember. I cannot remember what the book was. It might have been Departure. I mean, they wrote the whole book in this game.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So for those that don't know, this game was made by, I can't remember, do we say it was made by Remedy?
No, we haven't.
Okay, made by Remedy, which might not mean a whole lot in 2010. I don't know if they did any. Oh, they did Max Payne game. What the hell am I saying? I forgot they did Max Payne. So they would have been known for the Max Payne series, at least 1 and 2 at this point, because they didn't even do Max Payne 3.
The collector's edition came with a game disc and a box with unique art, exclusive in-game audio commentary, and hints by Remedy. The Alan Wake Files, a 144-page book compiled by fictional character Clay Stewart. That includes the FBI dossiers on Agent Nightingale, soundtrack, code for the Signal DLC, exclusive Xbox disc with special content.
I can't wait for us to get into the Nightingale thing, because for me playing through, he seemed like he didn't fucking need to be there.
Nope.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So it wasn't just me. I was like, definitely don't think he was needed.
No, that's just for the whole we want the police to chase after you because you're a bad guy type thing. That's all.
True.
So this game, I had forgotten how this game starts off very, like, unsuspecting. Like, I want to say, does it start off where you're on the boat?
No, it starts in the nightmare.
Yeah, you start off with the first nightmare.
It's been 2 weeks.
Actually, it starts off with the word Stephen King. Like, they want to get that in there right away. It's like, hey, we got some Stephen King references in this thing.
Well, it's inspired by that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I forgot that it starts off in the nightmare.
He references him immediately and then quite a few more times.
Yeah, like, literally the first spoken words are Stephen King.
God, I didn't know that.
I'm not against it, though. Stephen King's great, so.
Yeah, I mean, they reference a lot of authors, and I knew some of them, but I didn't know all of them.
Yeah, that mostly comes from Nightingale, where he wants to call Alan by a different author every time he sees him.
Yeah.
Because he's an idiot. I don't like him. We'll get there.
The character that carried this entire story.
I forgot about the nightmare, because the nightmare kind of like, you keep having this light that's talking to you, which you're dreaming, but I mean, it plays such a big part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I completely forgot about the whole runs to the lighthouse nightmare crap. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, just a basic tutorial level, but also has quite a bit of story in it once you get through the game.
At least it had a tutorial, otherwise someone might hold down the square button when they're trying to shoot a blaster and not realize you're supposed to tap the button, but you never know.
Yeah, listen to last week's Star Wars episode.
Which just got published at the time of this recording. But I really like the boat. I don't know why, but there's some reason when you're, after the nightmare, when you wake up and you're in the car with your wife, and you're on like this little ferry going to this little town, and they're just, I really like it. She's like, Alan, go over there and I'll take a picture of you. Like, there is something about how just normal everything is, and you're talking to this guy from the radio station, and he's like, oh, I thought I recognized you, Mr. Wake. Like, everything is just, I really love this intro. I'm not so crazy about the lighthouse, but I love this part.
I love the nightmare. You get introduced to the over narration of Alan pretty much describing everything throughout the entire game. Like, it never felt out of place. Like, you always have something to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, that I think the boat took a little too long after a while, because after, like, at least when I played it, I don't know if maybe my game, like, glitched out or something, but I felt like I was on that thing for way longer than I needed to be afterwards. Because, like, the talking ended, she said, get in the car. I went over and it didn't give me the button prompt to, like, get into the car. So I was just like, is there a way I'm supposed to get into this car specifically? But yeah, no, it was a cool intro. The thing I like about this game a lot is it's one of the few, like, horror games that, like, has color in certain areas. Like, you're not just in darkness all the time with, like, the horror music and everything, but, like, they actually have nice color, like, during the daytime, and, like, they actually put effort into it, and I really like that.
Yeah, they do put a lot of effort into it for the little amount of time you're actually traveling around in the day.
Yeah, but it makes the night so creepy. Like, anytime it gets dark out, you're like, oh, fuck, here comes shit. And there's so many little things in this game that don't make sense, right? Like, you wouldn't have so much more meaning than you realize. Like, early on, after he gets up, when you go to the diner to go get your keys, and there's these two old idiots that play such a big part. They're like, that are acting all stupid. They're like, go put a lime in the coconut in the jukebox. Or they tell you go put the jukebox on. I can't remember, but
it's like Odin and I can't remember the other guy's name.
Tor, without the H.
Yeah. Right, Odin and Tor. Yeah, no. That whole segment in the diner is really funny. Like, you actually spend the time in there. It's actually really fun.
And that's another thing. Like, everybody talks in this game. Like, if you stand there long enough, you can just listen to tons of dialogue, which I don't do. I just run. But I like it that it's there. Like, I had to go hit the jukebox just because when they tell me to, and I'm like, I think, and then I love it when it started playing, put the lime in the coconut and drink the whole up. Like, that's the dumbest ass song in the world, but it's funny.
I just love when he gets called out right afterwards. He's like, God, and you call yourself a rocker and you pick this song. I'm like, perfect.
Those are two of my favorite characters. Easy. Like, I really like those two. I like everything about this game, actually. Like, I love the characters. I love the fact, because when I was younger, I wanted to be a writer. In high school, I wanted to be a writer. That was my goal. I wrote a novel at one point that doesn't exist anymore. And I had all this plan to do more. So when I was playing this game in 2010, graduated in 2006, at that point, my son's like 3 or 4. I'm kind of, that world has passed me on. but playing this made me feel like it was exciting for me because I got to kind of, to be in the writer's head in a way.
It's funny. We've actually never talked about this, but I wanted to be a writer too for the longest time. And when this game got announced, and I heard that you collect pictures of a manuscript that describe the things that are happening as you do them, I was immediately sold, like day one.
Nice. I did not know that.
A fun fact, I did not want to be a writer when I was growing up. And I still don't.
Yeah, I love writing. I don't write anymore, but now I talk.
Yeah.
Now I talk.
I kind of gave up on it.
But one thing interesting, also with the diner, I should say, when you go in the diner, you have that one girl who introduced, who's like, "Oh, Mr. Wake," and she recognizes you and everything, and then he's trying.
Yeah, she's got the cardboard cutout right next to you.
That.
That's Rose Marigold.
I think that's a really cool touch that she has that there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I used to have a cardboard cutout of Resident Evil 4, but those things are so awesome. I don't anymore, unfortunately. But water.
We meet several characters in the diner. We meet Rose, who works there, and then Rusty is one of the local sheriff people. Or no, he's the ranger.
Yeah, he's the forest ranger or something for the area.
And we mentioned the Anderson brothers, and then as the whole reason you're going into the diner is to get the keys from Carl Stuckey for the cabin on the Lake Cauldron.
Actually, the keys aren't for the cabin on the lake.
Aren't they?
No, the keys that you were supposed to get were for the cabins that he rents because there is no cabin on the lake.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
He's in the darkness taking a piss in the bathroom, or whatever the hell he's doing. When you go in there in the dark because the lights are out, a woman starts talking to him all in black, gives him the keys, and tells him to go to the lake. And then when you leave, you see Stuckey run out and go, "You forgot your keys!"
Okay, that makes more sense now.
Yeah, she intercepted him because there's a part in the end of I think it's the end of episode 1 when he's trying to, before he meets his agent, when he's running through the woods, which we'll get to in a second, that's when he runs to the apartments or the places he was supposed to rent the cabin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it does such, this game, one of those games, I played this game now 3 or 4 times. I beat this game 2 years ago, and then now I beat it again. And I beat it twice before. You pick up on more when you know where the story's going, and you played it not too long ago.
I read the novelization at one point, but I can't remember anything from it.
The more times you play through it, because the first time playing through, you're not paying attention to all the little details. You're paying attention to the gameplay and trying to get through the levels and not die.
There's a lot to this game, though. And just that whole thing, when they go to the lake and they introduce you to, and you're talking to Alice, his wife, and all that, and how Alan Wake is kind of an asshole.
Yeah, a little bit. My wife's why does she put up with this crap? He's such an ass to her. Because Alan has writer's block. He's a famous writer, and he hasn't been able to write anything in 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
And Alice kind of brings him here to hope that it sparks interest. She brings his old typewriter and all that, and he just goes off on her.
So pissed.
While she's half naked. What's wrong with you?
There's a lot wrong with him.
Well, we definitely get into that at some point.
it is interesting, though. It even shows him being an ass more than that. He gets all upset about the typewriter, storms out, and that's when the darkness takes over. One of the big keys about this whole game is that there are often times in the story where everything goes dark and then bad things start happening. And she's terrified of the dark, so when the lights go out, she starts screaming at you to go start the generator.
Yeah, because when you're in the diner, you meet Cynthia Weaver, who's... becomes a huge part later on, but she even warns Alan that bad things happen in the dark. And that's
We're safe this time.
The basis for the rest of the game.
See, because when I was playing through this, I originally thought that this game was going to be based around. It kind of is if you really go into depth about it. Based around, I can't remember hold on, let me look it up real quick. I need to remember the name of it.
Twin Peaks?
No, nectophobia, the fear of the dark. The phobia of the dark is because phobias are all about basically taking a fear and making it irrational.
Mm-hmm.
So where you can't live everyday life with it. And I thought that's basically what the game was going to be around with the fact of the darkness and stuff. And I guess it really is if you look at it from that perspective. And that's what I thought the end game was going to be, but I was wrong.
Alice has it for sure. He storms out of the cabin knowing that she won't follow him into the dark.
He's an asshole.
Yeah.
That's going to be a theme, I think, in this episode. You're an asshole, Mr. Wake. Oh, I got them all. But it does grab me, like that whole scene, and then he runs back in the house with the dark, and he has like this dark presence talking to him, and I don't remember if it shows you at this point what happens, or does it just like fast forward?
He sees something in the water and dives in after it, assuming that it's Alice.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah, here's her screaming, you run to the dock. And doesn't the game cut for a while, if I want to say?
Yeah, he wakes up after that in the car crash.
Yeah. When I first saw that really grabbed me, where all of a sudden you're here and then now you're just in a car crash. Like, you don't even know what the hell's going on. Nobody knows what's going on. The player doesn't, Alan doesn't, you're just here. And I think that's a really great way that it does it.
Oh yeah, and it's not explained for a long time of how he got there.
It happens more often throughout the game too. Like, that's kind of how they get you into a couple of the different chapters, is like all of a sudden you're in a completely new spot, completely different time, and you're just like, wait a minute, wait, I'm completely lost now. And then he's like, I'm confused, and you're like, great, we're on the same page.
He didn't know what the fuck's going on either. And we should talk about the way that this game kind of plays. It has a big mechanic with light and dark, that the enemies you're fighting are invincible until you destroy the dark that's on them. Like, I guess they're supposed to be people who are being possessed by this spiritual being that then turns them into what's called the Taken, which is like just evil bastards that want to kill you.
Yeah, I love the mechanics of the fighting. Like, you have to burn away the darkness using the flashlight or a bunch of other different light sources throughout the game. And then, like Mike said, then you can shoot them, and it still feels awesome.
I like it. I don't like the shooting mechanic, I guess. I don't like that there's not like an aim down sights very well. It's like trying to because if they're a little bit farther away from you, you have to like try to get that pinpoint of the light, because that's where you're going to hit. Just make it difficult. But
if you hit left trigger, it tends to lock on them.
Huh.
Yeah, didn't know that.
No,
yeah, because whenever you do left trigger, the light uses more battery, but it will lock onto enemies a little bit. It's not obvious, but that's what it's doing.
Oh, okay. I knew it became stronger if you held it. I didn't know
but
it locked on them, though.
Yeah. If you hold it down, you shoot, you'll hit them every time, as long as you're aiming within the vicinity of them.
I play this game in a very Mike Albertin way, where I try not to use up batteries for whatever reason.
Same.
So like I'll do the zoom light for a little bit, but I'll just let it burn away normally with just the normal light as much as possible.
Most of the game, I was maxed out on batteries, and yet I still didn't want to use them. I played it on easy because I just wanted to get through the game.
That's a better way to play it.
But yeah, I didn't. I always had the max amount of batteries and just barely ever used them.
I actually use the batteries in this game. I hoard everything else, but I use the batteries pretty well because I was also always maxed out.
I had a lot of fun with the guns this time around. I tried to branch out a little more.
The guns are good. You get a rifle, a shotgun, a better rifle, and then you get a flare gun, which I would. My problem is I kept holding on to all my ammo, and this game all the time goes, he fell off the helicopter. Oh, there goes his ammo. He fell off the tree. He fell off the boat. There goes his ammo. Like,
yeah, but they give you so much ammo. At least on easy, it's everywhere.
Yeah, it is.
Not on Nightmare.
Based off what you just said, it is at the beginning of every single new segment of the game. He's like, and I don't have my revolver. I'm like, you should get a wrist strap for that and just constantly have it attached to you, because I'm real tired of having to find weapons.
At least for the flashlight, it sucks getting the high-powered lantern flashlight and then having to go down to the little dinky pen light or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And one thing that I really did love, like a small touch, is when you fight the enemies, because they're all regular people, they all say this random shit in a really low voice, and I like that.
Carl Stucky's still my favorite. Carl Stucky.
Yeah, they're creepy.
I don't like horror games, but I fucking love this game. I love the way it messes with your head early on, where you don't know what the hell's going on. You're just fighting these random people who are trying to kill you. I mean, and then you find out the story progresses. These are all real people who just went missing in the woods and stuff.
And it gets weirder when he starts finding the manuscript pages that, like I said before, they dictate what's happening or what's going to happen.
He wrote the story.
Yeah. He finds the title page right at the beginning. It's signed Departure, which was what he was going to call his next novel that never came to be. The manuscript pages are among the best collectibles in games, I think. They're so cool.
Oh, here's one of the lines that they say early on in the game. I never touch salad, though. A man like me needs a hefty meal to get through the day. And that's what it's now.
That's Carl.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fucking Carl.
I love, and they all have random, Stucky's kind of like the first boss, in quotations in a way. This game doesn't really have bosses. But
they just have like main characters that become Taken, I guess.
They seem to be a little stronger than the normal guys.
And they
Stucky was probably the hardest thing I fought, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair. He's one of those Taken that kind of zoom around.
Yeah.
I hate that. I love when enemies come at you, like all of a sudden the screen where the camera will fly back and show like all these people just coming after you.
Yeah.
I love it.
I loved the like cinematic little like in-fight stuff. Like the in-fight cinematics were a really nice, cool touch.
Yeah. And even before that, is the darkness kind of like builds up and starts to just swell over and move around all squiggly like. It's really cool. I could probably describe it a little better than that.
It's like a tornado of black, kind of.
Yeah.
Or a fog of black, I guess.
I guess writhe would have been a better word. But...
Yeah. I don't know. We'll get to it, but I will tell you guys my least favorite like enemy in this game, and we'll get to it. But
there's a couple parts that I overall love this game. There's a couple parts, but just like the first chapter, I think is a great introductory chapter where you're confused, but the game is giving you enough ammo, it gives you enough, batteries. You have enough equipment to do what you have to do, and the enemies come at you sparsely enough as you're traveling through these things, trying to hit buttons, and the whole time you're just trying to get to a gas station to use a phone. And I love that. That is all you want to do. Just like, I just got to get to the phone and call somebody.
Yeah, you get your Energizer lithium batteries.
And your Energizer flashlight, they have to tell you throughout this game.
There's Energizer, there's Lincoln, and there's Verizon, and you will see those product placements all the time.
There's another one. The GPS is product placement also.
Oh.
Verizon
it's not
has giant billboards in the game. It's not like a picture of it. It's literally just the Verizon logo on a huge billboard. And I'm like, subtle.
You gotta know. You gotta know who's building up that wireless network.
The reason why you can never reach anyone on your phone.
You're in the middle of nowhere, so I have AT&T in it. It works all right. But it's just like, it's so interesting. I don't feel like this is a great, advertisement for Energizer because your battery keeps dying all the time. So
exactly.
Yeah, when you will it to make it brighter, I mean, it's going to burn it out faster. I haven't tried that myself, though.
I don't think it will work in real life. Pretty sure it will not. So another thing I want to mention, like the first level, like I do love how all his goal is to get to the damn gas station to make a phone call. I think that's a really good intro to a horror game. And this is a horror game. I don't care if people want to say, "Oh, not that scary." I was getting a little tense a couple times. Like there was one time my wife came out and said something, I jumped when I was playing this game. So this game is tense. Like that's not a horror game.
Yeah,
it's just not as survival horror.
Yeah, it's not Outlast or anything, but
thank God.
I think a huge thing that for me makes it a good horror game is it's not the fact of it not being like Outlast or like Until Dawn or like any of the newer ones. Is like it's not gory. Like there's no blood.
No.
There's no like limbs flying off. Like, yeah, you're using a weapon, but like there's no blood. Those things like they disappear. Like they just dissipate when you kill them. Like there's no gore.
I like that. And I like how everything's in the darkness and it's very hidden, but it's still creepy. Like when you start hearing people talking and all this weird shit starts happening, it gets creepy real fast.
I love the way they like burn away when you kill them.
Same. They disappear. Like this game the story grabbed me right away, but like in the beginning of episode 2, because he had called the cops, or no, episode 2 begins after they call the cops in episode 1, and it's a flashback to him in New York. And again, he's being an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not as bad as he is later, but he's kind of an asshole. Like there's a part where the lights go out and he has to go hit the fuse, and again, showing more of how Alice is really terrified of the dark.
Yeah.
And get the foreshadowing to the clicker.
Oh yeah, is that in the beginning of this little part?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, he gives it to her.
Yeah, because you check the fuse box, but it turns out it's just a power outage, so they light all these candles. And he's like, well, here, I'll give you this thing that my mom gave me. He said that it's a special item that'll burn away the darkness when you use it.
Okay, I didn't catch that. I should have caught that, but I did not catch that. Oh, and then this game does have a bunch of odd collectibles. Like we mentioned the manuscripts. There's also coffee thermoses you can collect for no reason. And there's also radios you can turn on that will give you information of what's happening. And there's also TVs you can turn on, too, that will give you episodes of Night Springs, Twilight Zone.
Man, every time that thing starts, all I can think of is Futurama's parody with the scary door.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
And there's also the stacks of cans that you can shoot.
Not when your graphics are all the way at the lowest setting. I tried and it wouldn't happen. I'm like, that's weird. I thought I could knock these over. And I realized I had my settings at the lowest I possibly could so the cans won't fall over when you shoot them.
Interesting.
Weird.
And then I guess the hidden chests are a collectible too, since there's an achievement for it.
Oh. Yeah, they just give you more ammo and lithium batteries. So.
Yeah.
Okay,
an occasional flare gun.
I love the fucking... I don't use the flare gun because I keep saving it, then I lose it, but I save it anyway.
I like collectibles that do things. Like those, like you said, the coffee thermoses are completely useless. They serve no purpose.
Hey, this was 2010. Achievements were a big deal.
Splatterhouse came out in 2010. It has one of the best collectibles in games. I'm not going to go into it, but if you know, you know.
I do not know.
I'll tell you after the show.
Oh, okay. I also like in episode 2. There's because you're at the sheriff's office because you call the cops, and I like the fact that for a little bit you're running around during the day and everything's normal. They're like, "What the hell's going on?" They're all confused, and again, you have no weapons anymore. Everything you're lost your flashlight because apparently they take away your flashlight too when you get arrested by the cops. I guess. So.
Well, I mean, they take all your personal possessions so you don't get locked up in a cell and beat someone to death with a wallet somehow.
You're not even in a cell. This
is true.
I mean, you're not even arrested. You just leave with your agent. Oh, and I have that same jacket as Barry, by the way.
Oh, even before that, when the sheriff Sarah Breaker shows up, she takes Alan to the lake because he's like, well, we're in this cabin on the lake. And she's like, there is no cabin. There's no island. So she takes him there and sees that the lake's completely empty.
I must have skipped that cutscene.
It's right at the end of chapter 1.
Yeah.
And then it's mostly that he's so confused that she takes him down to the station to file a report on Alice, I guess.
I think I skipped that then because I don't remember any of that this recent playthrough.
Well, I think she also takes him because with the fact of him not having the keys to the actual cabin yet and him saying he was on this cabin, like he doesn't really have anywhere else to go.
And then they introduce in this one Barry you meet up with Barry, who is his agent in this game. And I was kind of making the joke. Barry wears this big orange puffy jacket, and I realized I have a jacket just like that, which I might take a picture of.
Barry's the quote unquote comic relief to the game.
Yeah, he's a New Yorker who. Are you in Maine?
I think so. Sounds right.
That way, if it's based off Stephen King stuff, 100% he is in Maine.
Okay. Then that probably fits. I mean, we don't have any New Yorkers on, I'm assuming. The other guy that we podcast with is from New York.
We'd have to ask Bill.
Yeah. And I mean, Maine's probably, I mean, like you have a city boy and you're out in the middle of fucking bumfuck nowhere.
More or less.
I mean, it's bumfuck nowhere. You have to take a ferry to get to town. You're in the bumfuck nowhere. I don't care what people say.
Well, I also think it's Maine because of like what I said with Stephen King. All Stephen King's book, not all, but a large portion of his books are based in Maine. Like Derry is a fictional like place in Maine, like Pet Cemeteries in Maine, I believe.
Was he from Maine?
I think that's where he ended up living for a while.
According to the gospel that is Wikipedia, takes place in the small fictional town of Bright Falls, Washington.
Oh,
Twin wow,
Peaks.
They win.
So, opposite corner.
Mm-hmm.
That makes more sense than why he's really out of his place then.
Man, that's a long trip from New York to Washington.
They also drove.
Oh, geez, they did.
Yeah, but I guess when you're unemployed, what do you got to worry about?
He's got all that Alex Casey money.
True.
That's his book series.
It has some cool moments. Like, and you also have like this. I had forgotten this whole story arc that starts off for a couple chapters, like 2 and 3, where he gets a phone call from a random guy who says he has Alice. He kidnapped Alice, and that as long as he cooperates, he just wants all the manuscript that you've been picking up these random pages, and then he'll give you Alice back. That's kind of an odd thing.
Yeah, but I feel like it's a good like twist when we get to it because it makes it feel like everything he's dealing with is like a mental problem because you're like, well, I'm fighting all this darkness, but an actual person just took her. Like, this is weird.
Yeah, you see, I came into it knowing where the story was going, so I didn't catch up. I didn't think that, but good way to put it, though.
I think in the narration or the manuscript pages, Alan even questions his own sanity because, like, this stuff is so unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some, and I like that part where you go. So you meet the other guy, Rusty. You see at the diner when you go, you get your keys from him for the cabin, and then that night when you're heading to go meet the kidnapper in the middle of nowhere, Rusty ends up getting murdered by the darkness. There's a pretty cool damn scene where the darkness just kind of rips through and destroys everything, and ends up killing him too. And then you have to. I like that, and I like how it makes you kill NPCs that you meet. Like you talk to a guy, and then it doesn't take long for the darkness possesses him, and you have to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no body, so no one knows you're a murderer.
The true the true serial killer way.
Because if there were bodies, Alan Wake wouldn't be leaving that jail cell.
So he confesses all this stuff to Barry, and Barry's like, "You're insane. What are you doing? We got to get out of here." And it's not until he's going to meet the kidnapper that some kind of earthquake happens, and Barry's like, "What was that?" And Alan's like, "Oh, that's just me going crazy, Barry. Don't worry about it." You're not crazy. You're not crazy. I wish you were, but you're not.
And that's where, like, you finally get the sense of, like, oh, fuck, like, shit, this is real. Like,
bad shit's going down.
Oh, yeah, but it is so good. Like, I know a lot of people complain and say that this game is very repetitive, and it probably is, but I never felt like that. I never had a problem. I was always ready to go to the next area. I was always ready to engage with the next event, the next enemy. I didn't have any problems like that.
Yeah, I mean, you do spend a lot of time just walking through the woods at night.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Especially in Chapter 2 and 3.
Yeah.
I mean, Chapter 2 is long. Like, that's where you're trying to get to Mirror's Peak to meet the kidnapper. I can't remember. Do you meet him?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you defend the viewing platform while he's unlocking the gates and stuff.
Oh, or he won't give you your gun because you lose your gun again.
Mm-hmm.
This time in the middle of the level, though. Which is real rude.
I mean, it's a little like I thought it was interesting when you're talking to this guy on the phone and you're completely chasing. And this is also the first time, or one of the few times, where other people are seeing what you're seeing because he's fighting the Taken with you. Like I thought that where you have the flashlight but no gun, you have to burn the darkness off so he can shoot him and kill him because he won't give you a gun.
I think Alan even references that. He's like, "You can see him too." It's like, "Of course I see him." It's kind of that confirmation that he's not really crazy
for now.
Yeah, well.
The game's going to trick you in a little bit. I don't remember all of it. I mean, it does get a little annoying running to Lover's Peak, but I still had no problem with it. Not in this chapter.
Yeah. And the kidnapper is actually the other guy on the ferry at the beginning. He's at the other end of it.
You don't have to see. If you don't go to the back, like I didn't this time, I didn't even notice him.
I never went to the back, so I didn't know he was on the ferry.
Yeah.
But Alan still does, because it's in one of the manuscript pages. It's like, I recognized the voice. He was on the ferry with Alice.
It's interesting how it does that. I like that. It makes you feel like, as you were saying before, that it's not a supernatural threat. It's something real to kind of throw his brain around. And I can't remember exactly when you meet him, how you lose him or what. Do you get tossed off the... No, you don't get tossed off the deck yet, but you guys get separated somehow, but I can't remember what happened.
You definitely go over the edge somehow.
Don't you fall? No.
That's the Chapter 3 end.
Yeah.
After the mine.
Yeah.
Because they fall and Alan grabs the gun and the guy takes off.
Okay, that's what it was then.
I don't remember how they go over the edge, though.
Fighting darkness or something?
I would assume so.
Yeah, probably darkness monsters, I would just say. But it gets interesting. But and then Chapter 3 is when things really get fucking intense, though.
Oh, even before that, like, you got the chainsaw guy for the first time.
Dr. Salvador?
I just managed to corner the guy, just drop flares and cornered him against a wall. And
I really like flares.
Oh yeah, flare! I use flares like mad this playthrough. I never realized how awesome they are. They're so useful.
I also never realized until this playthrough you can hold them.
Oh yeah.
I always just drop them.
Well, like if you're trying to get away, that's the best way to do is drop one as you're running.
As I'm watching a playthrough as we're talking, Chapter 2 ends, like you said, with you getting his gun. You guys get separated, you get attacked by Taken, and you have to get into a car and drive back to Barry, and you have another boss fight, in quotation, that you can't see me doing, where you fight the crows.
Yeah, and the drive back to Barry gave me a lot of Alone in the Dark OE vibes. Yeah. Like, the driving is so much better than that game, but it instantly reminded me of that.
Hey, Mike, with me moving means I'm going to find my copy again. We're going to play it.
See. It won't be until next Spooktober, so... Aren't
you excited to replay that wonderful game?
No. I think I said that I'd rather play it than Bounty Hunter again, so...
Yep. I'm going to hold you to it. I like the driving in this game, though. It's simple enough. You hold down a button to shine your flashlight or your headlights that then end up killing enemies and they just blow up. You can run them over. Like, I think the driving is just fine.
Oh, yeah. Smacking the Taken is, like, the best thing.
Yeah, I think why I like the driving so much is because it makes you feel more powerful at that moment. Because most of the time it's you running from them and stuff, and now you're in a vehicle and you're like, haha, now I get to run you over.
It is kind of the best feeling in any kind of horror game where you feel empowered, which is usually the opposite of the entire game. That's why Dead Space isn't really a horror game.
It's a horror game.
Dead Space is a horror game. But
Straight up.
I haven't played through them at all. Actually, I only played the beginning of the first one and then gave up on it. But yeah, no, like
Missing out.
no, I know I am. They're good. I have them all. I just need to actually sit down and play through them. But
Your 1 and 2 are great, from what I remember.
I heard 3's like fine. It's not like a huge letdown. It's just different, I guess.
It's just not as good.
Yeah, it's not 2, so.
Yeah, that's just the problem with that. But we'll talk about that later. Later, the Spooktober.
But yeah, you fight the crows, the bird swarm.
One of my favorite things.
They're annoying.
There's not a lot you can do. It's like there's so many of them, and it's like I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
Flares, flare gun.
Yeah,
Flare gun is
bird. Super great for them.
I hoarded it, and then I lose it at the end of this fight. But I hoard it anyway because I'm stupid.
Yeah, there's no sense in hoarding in this game.
I do it every time. It wasn't until episode 4 or 5. I'm like, stop hoarding, Mike. Stop it. Just use the damn items. Like, it's just how I play horror games, or how I play most games in general, especially horror games. I hoard everything to save it for later, just in case I need it. And you shouldn't do it in this game. And also, during the time when you get to Barry, that's when the kidnapper calls you again to tell you to meet him in some mine in 2 days or something.
Yeah, and then Barry gets a phone call from Rose, and she sounds fine.
Oh, I love this. Like how they fall for it.
Yeah, how do you not notice this normally chipper girl is completely monotone?
It's like, hello, Barry. I have your manuscript. Will you please come here and meet me? Like, I don't get it.
Back to the he calls you about the 2 days. Originally he calls and he says he wants you to finish it and bring him the last of it and you're like, I don't have time, I need like a week, and he's like, you get 2 days. And you're like, awesome.
I mean, you're never gonna give it to him anyways. I don't know what he was so upset for.
Yeah. I mean, we find out the kidnapper wasn't even supposed to do that. But we'll get there when we get there.
The kidnapper, was he hired by somebody else?
Yeah, we find out before.
Yep.
Okay, that part is missing in my head, so we'll get there soon. But chapter 3, I think, or episode, what they call episode, but I like the way episode 3 starts off, where again, it's more, everything is kind of normal again. It's daytime, and you go to a trailer park.
Real quick,
meet up with Rose.
The confusion there with chapter and episode, it bothers me so much that they paint up the in between the sections as a TV show. It's like previously on Alan Wake, so they call them episodes, but the whole thing's about books and writing and stuff, so why are they not chapters?
Because they're inspired by Twilight Zone also.
And Twin Peaks, like you said.
Yeah, heavy Twin Peaks. And I've never finished Twin Peaks, but I never will.
Everything I know from Twin Peaks has been references from other media.
Wait till we play Deadly Premonition.
Yep.
I do like the trailer park when you go there, and then the guy's like, "Oh, she's a nice girl, pays her rent on time." Like, that's not what we asked her. Like, that's not. But that's a basic like landlord thing. I could see some guy, especially some old like redneck guy, out here in the trailer park, and that's what he's saying. Like, I completely can see that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean,
it takes you on a weird route, but
yeah, he takes the long way.
It definitely feels like one of those small towns where everyone knows everybody kind of thing.
Oh yeah. 100%, and it's interesting. Like, what do you want? And he just takes you to her cabin, like no problem at all. Here, here's the trailer. Here, what do you want to do with her again?
Yeah, you guys trying to sell her into human trafficking, or you guys here for the census? What's going on?
He does call the cops eventually.
Pretty quickly though, too.
No, it's not until because they go in there thinking that she's got the manuscript. She's like, "Here, have some coffee," or I'm sorry, "Here, have some coffee," and then they both pass out because she drugged it.
Yeah.
You think after everything has already happened to them in the first 2 days, I'd be like, no, I'm not thirsty. I'm okay. Let's just talk.
You need coffee to stay awake. But yeah, Alan wakes up and it's night again. Like, you have so little daytime in this chapter.
And she's fucked up too. Like, you see her in the corner, sitting on the corner, like just rocking back and forth to show how damaged she is from what the Dark Presence did to her.
Mm-hmm. Like, I kind of assumed that it's left her by now, but yeah, she's messed up afterwards.
Because the way she taught.
Yeah, it says in the manuscript pages that she's still aware of all the things the darkness is making her do. So yeah, I guess that would leave a mark on you.
You think they would have picked up on it, but they don't.
You would think.
It's almost like they had a story to progress.
Yeah. And then this is when he calls the cops on them because they never left. And I want to be like, why are you calling the cops just because they never left? Like, it could have been anything. Like, it's just weird to me.
Yeah,
maybe she's into orgies.
You never know, but it's like, it ain't your business.
Exactly.
But it is a small town, and they would be like, well, I know Rose when she was 4.
Well, they also, I'm pretty sure, like, at that point he would know that, like, he's, like, a visitor from, like, out of town, too, so I guess that would kind of make it.
Yeah, I think it's in one of the manuscript pages where he talks about how he doesn't like these city folk and how they've been in the trailer for hours with this nice girl, and that's why he calls the cops, because something's definitely up.
I mean,
And that's where we get introduced into the oh-so-wonderful main character, should have been the lead, FBI agent Nightingale.
This, I mean, he just starts shooting at him, which, again, in 2010 and 2020 are two completely different things.
Still, but also he shot at him as he was standing behind the owner of the trailer park. Like, that dude almost got hit by, like, 3 bullets.
And, like, I remember in 2010 not thinking anything about how you just opened fire, but now and now that we're in 2020, I'm like, this wouldn't have been in the game. This game was made in 2020.
Yeah. And Nightingale almost shoots, like, 3 or 4 innocent people throughout this game.
Yeah.
Terrible. And I do, like, we kind of I think we joked about it earlier, where he keeps calling you different authors' names, too, throughout this game. Like Steve, like just different. I think they're horror authors. I don't know. I know Stephen King. I don't remember the other ones though.
There's H.P. Lovecraft. I know for sure.
Well, that's just a racist, but
does it ever? I mean, I'm
super fucking racist, by the way.
I'm sure it does at some point. Does it explain why he was brought in for any reason?
Yes, in the manuscript, it's in the notes somewhere in the stuff. It never tells you straight out in the game. It's in other things. You have to seek it out.
Okay, yeah, because I never really picked up on why he was there.
You can go to his motel room at one point, optional, and go and find stuff. And there's stuff you can read in there. I did not read it, but I know it's in there. I saw it. Went, oh look! Click, 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 click. Got batteries. Let's go. Time to go. I don't give. I go in everywhere and look for items. I don't give a shit about notes. I just played this game.
Yeah, items that you don't use.
Yeah, but I gotta have them in case I need them. But chapter 3, like when you're running from the cops and you have no gun and no flashlight again, because if you get drugged, why would you pick up your gun and flashlight? Just get the hell out. And you hear these cop cars getting thrown around. You hear the cops on the radio just getting murdered. Like this is just dark, and I love this beginning part. Like it is so intense in episode 3.
Yeah, and the helicopter gets taken out by the crows, like 2 hordes of crows. Yeah,
and they're looking for you. I mean, they are real, and they're like, it's his fault. Like you think he's controlling.
He took out a helicopter.
Not like he's shooting. And they mess up, like, there's so many police force, too. Like, they take out a lot of them in this little part.
There is an awful lot of cop cars for this little town.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, there's probably sheriff and, like, the forest preserve and the, like, town cops, which would, because I'm a law enforcement major, my degree is in law enforcement. I would assume in that general area, the amount of people that they could have got there that fast with an FBI agent probably totaled up to about 15 people. And there's no way in hell they got a helicopter there that fast. just off the fact that he just ran.
I guess if everybody brought 2 cars, they might have enough to fill out all the ones we see in this game.
Yeah, there's a lot of carnage in this beginning part of this episode.
Yeah, and you keep fighting these cops too, because as you find out that they're like the Taken that you're fighting are all these cops, like, you have a speeding ticket. Like so I mean, essentially everyone just goes missing, and there is a part, it's a very small part, but when you're in the beginning of episode 2, in a police station, you can see a sign with a bunch of missing posters on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's very subtle, but it's there.
And they look like actual real people too, so I wonder if they like won a contest or something to get their picture in the game.
Probably, or
maybe
something.
It's that, or maybe developers or people that worked on it.
Yeah, could be. Remedy does like to do that. I mean, Max Payne is just, what's his name, Sam Lake, the main dude from Remedy.
It's all them. It's just like, even when you don't have your flashlight, the game still finds a way. Like, there's a couple parts where they make you fight when you have no flashlight, no gun. Well, not fight, but run for your life while people are trying to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
I was not a fan of those parts, but it does do it.
Use them flares.
But I was trying to save them. But yeah.
Well, you saved them, and now they're back there. So
yeah, pretty much. And it's just like, chapter 3 is really fun at first, like when you're trying to get to the radio station. I like that part, but then episode 3 just goes too damn long.
It really does, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you get to the radio station, and I love how, and again, they get there way too damn quick, is all I could think of. So you get to this radio station, and the guy's on the air, like, oh, look, I have a special guest. I see Alan Wake came down for an interview. And within, like, 2 minutes, they show up.
Well,
I didn't even piece that together, and that's why they showed up, because Pat just, gave you away.
Well, I mean, I guess if you think about it logically, it could have been people that were still following him that weren't taken yet, could have been radioing it in where he was heading, what direction, and also, with it being that remote of an area, that's the only way, place on the roadway. So they're probably just hey, he went into this part of the woods. I mean, the only thing he can really run to on the road would be here. So, it could happen. But yeah, no, their response, Nightingale's response time was a little fucking fast.
He's like, there's someone here I can shoot at. He starts shooting at Pat Maine.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's the part that angers me the most. It's this dude just opens fire on everything.
Yeah, because you start talking to him, and right as you start talking, you just go in there. He says you're there. He opens the door. You start talking to him, and Nightingale shows up and just starts shooting.
And for the people who haven't played, it's not like he's in there with you, shooting. He's outside just shooting through windows. What if he caught a glimpse of something wrong and just domed that radio host in the head?
This is all because he thinks that Alan had something to do with his wife's disappearance.
Oh, is that what it is?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that said somewhere?
I think it's when he's introduced.
Oh, okay. I didn't pick up on that.
I mean, there's more backstory, like you said, where apparently he had a partner that got taken by the darkness, and then Nightingale started having nightmares, and he saw Alan in his nightmares.
Huh. I'm surprised the darkness trying to lie to him.
But if you're wondering if it's a missing person, you still don't just shoot said suspect on the
if I kill you, she'll show up.
God, Mike,
that's how it works.
Mike was right. Fucking playing this game in 2020 does fucking change things.
it has that. I just kept thinking that. I'm like, oh, this is a lot darker. I mean, I know they're not what they're going for, because 2010 wasn't, we wasn't like that, but that's all I could think of.
Is it Bad Boys, where the chief's like, we're not going to go by your method of shoot some more and shoot some more and try and ask questions once everyone's dead, something like that.
That might. I've never seen Bad Boys.
Really?
I have. It's been a real long time though.
It's fine.
And one thing throughout this game they do a lot. They have generators you have to start, which is a little quick time event because it's 2010. Those didn't bother me. I like how you find random power truck or power company trucks parked in random places, and you find random lights just put around that don't make any sense until later on in the game you find out who's leaving them for you.
Yeah, he even mentions that they're not so random. He's like, well, this is awfully heavy equipment for just being out in the middle of nowhere. So
yeah,
there must be a reason.
Yeah, I was going to say, he does bring that up at one point.
Multiple times, I think, too.
Yeah.
Episode 3 should have ended at the radio, but the whole thing, where after you escape the radio and you're trying to go meet the kidnapper at these mines, that's a fucking long-ass time. And then when you finally get to the mines, which is during the day, and you sit and wait for him, he never even shows up and tells you to go meet him somewhere else.
Yeah, but he also doesn't even give you a courtesy call in a decent amount of time. He waits until it's fucking dark outside.
Yeah, it's gonna be nighttime.
You're supposed to meet him at noon, and he calls you at 7 p.m.
And that whole thing where he starts breaking the chair and everything when he gets there and just starts breaking things, I'm like, okay. And then he sends you to go meet him on some random mountain in the middle of the night. You have to go through the mines, and this kind of just felt like padding in a sense.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I could have done without all this section.
Most of this chapter felt like padding.
Yeah.
Yeah, even when you get to the kidnapper and I think it's when you're fighting things with the kidnapper, and I think it's the darkness takes the form of a tornado, if I remember correctly.
You don't fight alongside him in this one. As you're getting to him, you hear him screaming, pleading with the darkness. We never had her.
Yeah, this is the part where you find out that Alice wasn't kidnapped.
Okay. I do gotta say, though, the mines were fucking creepy as hell.
Oh, yeah.
He becomes a Taken at this point, though, doesn't he? Don't you fight him here? Or no? Am I thinking of... Maybe I'm thinking back wrong.
I can't remember.
I don't remember either. You might. I mean, I just remember you end up jumping off Mears Peak and end up in the water.
Yeah, without your flashlight and stuff again.
Yeah, again. And this has one of the most... episode 4 is by far my favorite, but also has one of the most, what the fuck moments in any game that I can remember playing recently. So after you jump into the water, the game you just wake up in a room in a lodge with a locked door. You don't know where the fuck you are. You don't know what's going on. There's a typewriter, and you're just like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, we haven't talked about Dr. Hamilton yet.
No,
part of the reason why Alice chose this town is because Dr. Emil Hamilton helps artists. He claims that have mental instability of some sort.
Well, there's actually quite a bit of backstory to it that we probably should have gone through. In the first chapter, you realize that because when you're at the cabin, you can look up and you see a lodge, and people can't stay there anymore because it's privately owned, and you find out that he's the one that privately owns it because he is rehabilitating all these artists. And then also when you're episode 2, when you first get to the sheriff's station, when you come back from getting Alice's ID from the kidnapper where you left it, he's there and he's telling you this is what's wrong with you should come stay here, I can help you with your problem. And then Alan Wake just decks him in the face. Yeah,
because he's like, did you talk to my wife? He's like, yeah, I convinced her to bring you here. And he slugs him.
Yeah, he's one of my least favorite characters, especially what you find out about him a little bit later in this episode, I guess. Well, it's not even a little bit. It's pretty early on in this episode. But this part of this episode is where I literally stopped playing the game for I was like, I'm going to stop here for the day because I have no idea what the fuck's going on anymore.
Mm-hmm. And you're meant to have that what the fuck is happening moment. And it's a good moment. I remember when I first got there, I was like, what? Was none of this real? Was he all just hallucinating this whole time? Because Hartman started telling you, oh, you were just making this up. You had a relapse. This happened. Just let's talk. And you're walking and he's like, Alice is dead. She died in a drowning accident. You haven't been okay since then. You've been staying here with me. We're trying to help you. It's really interesting to have this take on it. And it really does make the player wonder, is Alan just insane?
Yeah, and then 2 years later, The Darkness 2 did the exact same thing.
It did?
Yeah, there's the in-between chapters in that game where you're in this, mental hospital, seeing all the... Yeah, it's a good game.
I played it. I beat it.
It's good.
I don't remember it existed. You keep bringing it up on the show, though.
I'm sure I'll play it sometime. Probably not the first one, but second one.
I own it. And my collection will be on a bookshelf at some point, so we'll be able to. So I like all this with Hartman, where Alan's kind of when he's narrating the story, what's happening, and the inner dialogue. I don't know why I couldn't think. Kept saying dialogue. Is where he's like, I just got to play cool because I don't trust this guy. There's something wrong, but if I start trying to question him, he's just gonna lock me up. So I'm just gonna play cool. And I like that. That's the way that if you're in a situation like this and you're not sure, don't start attacking and in a horror movie, oh, I'm not crazy, Jason's trying to kill me, something like that. They wouldn't just be like, let's just play cool. Let's just see what happens. Mm-hmm. And one thing I think is very interesting about this part, when he sees a compass, he sees something that mentions Thomas Zane.
The Anderson brothers call him Tom too.
Oh yeah. Nobody's heard of Thomas Zane, except people in this town know him. But Barry makes a comment earlier how Thomas Zane, never heard of him before.
He says that he goes looking in the library and he comes across the name Thomas Zane, talks about how he's a great writer, but he couldn't find anything by him. Which I thought that was weird that piece of information was left. But we'll get there.
I guess because this town wasn't as affected because this is where it originated from.
Yeah, it could be.
Because, the lamplight lady knows who Tom was and remembers Tom, where other people still remember Tom also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it was just erased from, the world outside of this town.
But I want to say that Sheriff Breaker says later on that he was a myth.
Huh. She also probably would have been too young to be there when he was alive.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess the people that were closest to him probably remember.
She also wasn't raised there, because later in the game you find out that her dad was a cop in New York. So she's not originally from there either. So she would also probably, if she'd never actually met him, then she probably also thinks he's a myth.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. And I like this beginning of episode 4, where you're just walking around the place with the guy, and then you meet the Anderson brothers. I like all that.
I think episode 4 is probably my favorite episode, except for a fight we'll get into later, but everything about episode 4 and especially the farm I absolutely loved. I loved it so much. I thought it was a really cool, I thought it was a fun comedic touch to a horror game, but still during that time you're still fuck, I don't want to die.
Everything with episode 4, the whole when shit hits the fan at the building that you're in and everyone gets massacred, the only 2 employees that work there get massacred by the darkness, and you just start having to escape, and you get your flashlight and your gun, and you're just going through a hedge maze, and then there's also he has the guy's a big orderly he calls a gorilla that's with him that ends up being a mini boss that you have to take out too.
Mm-hmm.
I really like any escape, like because you end up. I think the Anderson brothers tell you to go to the farm, and the farm will have the secret or something. I think they say something like that.
Yeah, because the Anderson brothers, yet again, probably the best part of this entire game, honestly. Like character-wise, they're like, you find them in there, and they're like telling you like all this stuff that you now believe, but everyone else thinks they're crazy, and that's probably why they're in there. Other than the fact that you find out later, Odin was crazy enough to like scoop out his eye or whatever.
Oh, that would happen.
Yeah, you find out, and I can't remember what it is, but there's something on the farm that specifically tells you that like he went like while they're like doing something with like their rock and roll music and like their moonshine business, he like thought he was like a god or something, and then like tried to scoop out his own eye.
Oh,
and that's why he has like an eye patch. That might not be it word for word, but it's something along those lines, and it's just out there and stupid, and it's like, yeah, it makes sense. At least they put a backstory in for why he has an eye patch.
I didn't catch that. That's cool, though.
Is this where we find out what Hamilton was up to with his lodge?
Like, do we find out? I want to say yes. I want to say you figure it out here.
Yeah, because this is where you put him at gunpoint in his office, right? And that's where
he keeps trying to bullshit Alan. He's just like, okay, that's enough. And Hamilton's like, well, it was worth a shot. And then, I think you're right. I think he spills that the lake has some kind of supernatural power that brings artists' art to life, in a matter of speaking. Because, like, Thomas Zane was a poet, the Anderson brothers were musicians, and Alan is a writer.
There's also a painter in there, because he's collecting that one dude's paint, and all of his paint is of the darkness and the Taken.
It's good. Like, I mean, you do realize he's using all these artists and stuff, and he's just using their work to make money off it, essentially, I think, too.
Yeah, he's trying to shape reality to his liking, more or less.
Well, the shitty thing is it's not like he's even shaping reality into a good way. Like, he's not like trying to like take their creative stuff and like make it into a good light and make it a better place. Like, he's just like, yes, fuck everything.
A supervillain that just wants power for the sake of power. It's all the more satisfying when Alan traps him into the room with the darkness.
Yeah,
he starts grinning.
Murder moment too. Like that was when I'm like, you are not a good person, Mr. Wake, at all.
I mean, Hamilton's not either.
No, but still, like, he just leaves the guy to get killed by darkness, and he goes, and like you said, he smiles when you hear him screaming. I'm just like, I don't care what the hell the guy did. Like, let him get killed, but you pretty much murdered him. Just because you didn't do it, you tossed the guy into something that's gonna kill him. It's still murder, you know? That's all I took.
Yeah, well, do what you gotta do.
That's okay.
When you're the hero of the story, you can do whatever you want.
True. Kill a bunch of missing people.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, but
they started it.
I do like when you finally get the car with Barry and you're driving to the farm, and I forget what happens, but your car crashes or something again?
During the car ride, Barry has probably my favorite line in the game. He says, "You're going to buy me a tanning bed as a gift, and I'm going to live in it."
Yeah. What does happen on their way to the farm? That
can't remember. I'm watching a speedrun as we talk, but I don't remember what happens exactly. I just know you end up losing your equipment again.
And your vehicle.
Yup, and you're running through the woods with nothing.
But now you have a friend.
Sort
of?
Now
you have Barry.
Well, I do like the scene on the way to the farm. You go up to a random house because you see a car going, and you think it's Barry, and this is when you see somebody else, who like the town drunk who you saw earlier in the jail cell. We just didn't even bother to mention. And he's like, "I shouldn't have went back from the moonshine. They got my friend." And
oh yeah,
I like it that it gives context that other people are getting affected by the Taken. Other people are fighting these things and seeing these things and being murdered by these things and have no idea what's going on. Like I like because it helps certify that he's not crazy.
Yeah. But this is where, like, because the huge thing for me was right when you meet Barry in the beginning, like the first couple times you meet Barry and stuff, like, I didn't like Barry. I thought he was just going to be that annoying, like, sidekick, like, person who says he's his friend, but he's just his agent and, like, doesn't really want the best for him. But, like, this is where you start to see, like, Barry's, like, on his side. Barry is actually, like, his best friend and is, like, in this for the long run. And I was like, oh, Barry's one of the best characters.
He's not as much an asshole as think. I agree. I didn't like him at first either, but I do warm up as the game progresses.
Yeah.
And like getting to the farm has one of my favorite scenes of any game of last generation.
Oh, the one on the farm?
When you finally get to the farm and you're getting there and you start seeing like all these rock things in the farm, you're like, oh, these guys really were rockers, but we never heard of them. And I think they were also written out too by Thomas Zane.
Could be.
Or somebody wrote them out.
Yeah.
They don't exist. I think that's also cool. Like all their money was made, they were real, but they don't have a legacy anymore. And you see all these fireworks, and when you see this concert stage that you're trying to get to, and then Barry turns on the lights, and it is probably one of my favorite gaming moments ever. Not ever, but last generation. Let's go with that.
Yeah, because you're like overlooking this, not quite cornfield, but just this empty field, and there's just swarms of Taken coming at you.
And he's playing a rock song.
Yeah, he starts setting off the pyrotechnics and the stage lights and burning them all away. It's so cool. It reminds me of one of the Left 4 Dead finales.
Yeah.
Anyone curious, look up Old Gods of Asgard on YouTube if you can, and you'll Children of the Elder God, and you'll have the song.
Pretty good song, too.
Yeah, the song is good.
Really, and it is just, and you're just gunning down guy after guy after guy with Barry launching fireworks, and things are happening, and it's an awesome battle arena type thing.
It's like the one time in the game where you're fighting and like it's not like a oh shit type of a situation. It's like aha, like I'm getting the better of them. Like it's another uplifting kind of a scene where you're like I'm doing better against them now, and like that type of a thing.
And the music, just this heavy rock, or maybe not heavy, but this rock song just playing in the background loudly, and you're on this arena, and they're hearing it too. Like that's the whole thing that makes it so cool. They're like, oh, this song's pretty good too, Alan. Like I like that they're in the same, making you feel like you're in that same world with them.
I think what would have made it even better though was if Coconut played instead.
Put the lime in the coconut. I'll take Children of the Elder God.
Yeah, but you know how much of a comedic relief it would have been if just like initially, like even if it was just like Coconut started playing and Barry was like, oh no, and he just like flips over the disc or something. Like,
that would have been funny.
So they count off like 1, 2, 3, 4. Put the lime in the cookies. Damn it!
You know, I bet somebody modded other songs in this part.
Oh god.
So yeah, you get through that part, and then that's when like I guess this might not be right away, but my least favorite fight of the entire game and my least favorite type of enemy, aka any inanimate construction farm equipment comes to life and you have to fight it. Like an excavator or a fucking combine.
The possessed objects that fly at you.
Yeah,
it's flying ones, the ones that like are literally controlled, like chasing you around, like the bulldozer at one point, the excavator at one point, and then this harvester. Like I was just like, no.
You're right. It is after this part.
Yeah, I think the first time we see the vehicles is in chapter 2. After no, it's in chapter 3. Yeah, we start seeing the possessed objects anyway.
No, because I think it is 2 because. The first possessed object, you don't fight it, but it's the bulldozer that pushes the little trailer off the edge that you have to escape.
Oh yeah, you're right. That might even be chapter 1 when you're chasing after Carl Stucky.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because it's it is Stucky. Yeah, that's the first one. You don't fight it though; it goes off the edge with the trailer. But that's like the first inanimate vehicular thing that gets thrown at you, and then now you get to start fighting them, and it's just
barrels and crates and 2x4s and shit.
Well, I think the worst part about the harvester fight is the fact that there are still a crap ton of Taken coming at you at the same time. So you have to fight off Taken and then turn around and make sure the harvester's not like 2 inches from you and about to run you over.
Yeah, I think this is one of the few times that I actually had to burn through some batteries to try and take it out as fast as possible. Like, drop a couple flares and burn it out until the batteries die out, swap them in, keep burning at it.
The thing that sucked for me is because, yet again, I'm because it was my first time playing through it, I thought it was just going to be like any of the other ones where, you just have to deal with it for a certain amount of time. I didn't realize you had to take it out. And I finally looked at, the left corner where, your little, to-do thing is.
Yeah, the objective.
Yeah, the objective is. And it's destroy the harvester. I was like, oh my god, I actually have to take this thing out.
At least you have plenty of room to run around because you're in another giant field.
Yeah, you're in a giant field. And it takes out most of the objects that you can get stuck on, so...
I wonder if you can even take out the other Taken that are running around if you get them in the path.
Yeah, it will, but it's still just... That was my least favorite thing. Is finding damn inanimate objects is so annoying to me.
Luckily, the vehicles aren't common. I think there's only 2 or 3 in the game that you have to deal with.
Well, besides the quote-unquote end game that we'll get to, but...
Yeah, well. Then you get into the farmhouse where the brothers have all their moonshine stashed.
Yeah, you get to listen to the secret they were talking to you about, which was actually a song.
Yeah, I want to say that the clue they give you is the secrets in the song.
Yeah, and then like in the song, it's called like the Lady of Light or something, isn't it?
Yeah,
Something
Lady of Light has a secret or something.
Mm-hmm.
The Poet and the Muse or something like that is the name of the song. And then when they find the album, they start playing it. That's when they realize it's crazy lamplight lady they've seen throughout the game.
Cynthia Weaver.
Yep. And then they get sloshed on moonshine.
Oh my god! Can we talk about the containers in the moonshine was in? Those things were like half their height, and they're like. Also, in what like after everything you just did on this farm, nonetheless, and it's still night, do you get inside the house where the lights aren't on still, and you're like, let's get sloshed?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I'm like, after everything you've seen happen, the last thing I would want to do is get just drunk off my ass. I'd be like, no, we're gonna sit here with the gun and the flashlight. We're just gonna get the lights on. We're not gonna get drunk.
No, I mean, me as a person, my first initial, if you ever listen to our podcast, my first initial thing would to be just get fucking hammered and then deal with it. Yeah, just get hammered as fuck and then deal with your problem.
Maybe that makes sense. Some people would do that too. I mean, okay, I do get the lights on, but I wouldn't be drinking. I'd be like, no, we're just gonna sit here.
I wouldn't drink moonshine, like illegally made moonshine, aka like literally almost 100% alcohol. Like I wouldn't.
What's the worst that's gonna happen? Nightingale's gonna show up and arrest you?
No, you die to the taken.
Is that what happened? Does not die to taken, but does Nightingale show up then?
Yeah, this is where Nightingale shows up and arrests him.
How did he find you?
I don't know. I mean, I guess the concert going off
somebody might have called the cops.
Yeah.
Yeah, but their farm they specifically talk about is like so out in the middle of nowhere. Like
Robert Nightingale is exactly where he needs to be at any given time.
Which is what makes him the best FBI agent you could ever want.
If only he can get that alcohol under control, he'd be great.
At this point, I mean, like they don't go into it, but it's the FBI, and this game takes place in like the correct time period. Fuck, they probably tapped his phone or something stupid, and he was just following him around the entire time.
Okay, I could see that. He does have a
yeah, I was gonna say he breaks out of the lodge, but there's no one there to report that he's gone because everyone dies.
Well, I mean, like if you yet again, I mean, it's post-Patriot Act, tapping phones, and he already is shooting on sight. It wouldn't surprise me if he tapped someone's phone.
That's a good point. And this is also when with the moonshine, you find out what really happened about how the darkness took Alice and told him to go right to get Alice back.
Yeah.
And he wrote for a week, it sounds like, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he spent a week. Because this is where you get to the episode 1 where you wake up in the car. Because he was out for a week.
When they get into town, Deerfest is 2 weeks away, and when he gets to the gas station in Chapter 1, it says it's 7 days.
Yeah.
So he lost a full week.
Yeah.
Oh, and also with Nightingale, if there's a comment when you're in jail after Nightingale arrests you and she's arguing with Sheriff Breaker, he makes a comment about the manuscript and how that's how he knew where they were or something because the manuscript said it. And then when he dies, he's reading the page. He goes, "Wait a second!" And the darkness just grabs him and pulls him out when he's reading a page or something.
Yeah, but like also. So the thing about that doesn't make sense to me is the fact of like if you're picking up the pages of the manuscript, how the fuck does he also have the pages of the manuscript? Like, are there multiple copies? Because like if you're picking them all up scattered around and stuff, how does anyone else have to where like they also know where you're at?
I think they say at the beginning of this chapter that he takes everything that Alan has on him.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they do say that. Tom
says at some point that he's been trying to leave him exactly where Alan needs him to be.
Yeah.
To help him.
Yeah, because he's very much involved in what's happening.
I have it in my notes as the meta of Nightingale reading the manuscript, describing him reading the manuscript. It's pretty good.
And I like how this time in the beginning of Chapter 5 is another one of my favorite scenes of this game. So it's you and Sheriff Breaker. You're in the sheriff's office. You realize, okay, you're not crazy. You load up on shotguns and all sorts of weapons. They leave Barry in the station and say, okay, call my father and call these guys and tell them Night Spring. He's like the TV show? And that's when she explains the joke is that the show was based on this town.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. Like, I enjoy this whole part where you're running around the town, fighting Taken, trying to get to the helicopter with you fighting. It is great.
Yeah, can we just take a moment to talk about how badass Sheriff Breaker is? Like, she sees Nightingale taken out, and she's just immediately on board. She's like, okay, here's all your stuff. What do I need to know to fight these things? Let's go.
It's good.
She's awesome.
She is awesome for that. And then she takes you outside, and then this is my favorite part, is immediately you get separated and have to go by yourself across some rooftops, and then across an entire town to get the keys to a helicopter, and then back across town to get to said helicopter, because, nothing's prepared for you.
Yeah.
Or in the correct spot.
I like this chapter just because it's nice to be in a different area than the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Agreed.
You're actually in the town, and, you actually get to see that the darkness does affect the town, not just, the woods outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I liked having a different environment to run in for the first half, and you also fight the Deer Fest float at one point, I think, or you see it
it comes by, it takes out a couple taken if you have them in the right spot.
I really like that. I just running around this town. I like there's one part where the guy's like, "Keep down that rocket." I don't know why people gotta get so loud at Deer Fest. You're not even aware of what's happening.
Oh yeah,
that.
it's the doctor. Yeah, he's in his apartment above. I'm assuming where he does his practice. Yeah, his clinic or his practice. But yeah, he yells out to the sheriff about why are there so many gunshots going on? It's like, are you just completely immune to everything happening? Did you not just see the deer float possessed run down the main road? What?
I liked it. I thought this was a great part. And then I'm not so super crazy about the next part when you find out after this you get the helicopter and you're heading to the power plant. And again, they take away all your equipment because he falls out of the helicopter on the other side of the power plant dam to try to get to it.
AKA Alan Wake, biggest klutz of the year.
But before even the chopper, we got to talk about Barry.
Okay.
He talks about the Bright Falls General Store is his favorite place on Earth now. He comes out wrapped in Christmas lights with a headlamp that he refers to as his flaming eye of Mordor. It's everything's protection to fight the darkness. It's pretty good.
I really liked it. I did like that Mordor comic. I laughed a lot.
Yeah, it's nice how they do tie in other famous books and stuff, because you get that part from Lord of the Rings, and that was a really, really good. Honestly, this game has a lot of good comedic relief when you need it, because you go through a very high tense situation, and they always have a one liner to be here's some comedic relief.
I had an unintentional one when I was running with Sheriff Breaker. There's a part where you have to wrap around this wharf, and as you go around the corner, Taken surprises you. And I burn the darkness away, and just as he comes around the corner, Sheriff Breaker standing with a shotgun just shoots him right in the side of the head. It was amazing timing.
She's great too. I don't know if she can die or not, but she does a great job just taking people out.
Oh yeah, I got to the point where I was just burning the darkness and letting her kill him.
Yeah, she's the only NPC in any game in the history of games that I can actually hit a shot.
That's fair.
And she defends herself really well too in this game.
Yeah,
unfortunately, you don't have her when she's prepping the chopper, and you have to fight waves of Taken.
I actually like that part.
Oh man, it was rough. That was one of those ones that I struggled with. One of the few times I died. Yeah, I mean it's a cool idea, but I was having a rough go of it.
Were you playing on easy or harder difficulty?
I was playing on easy.
Okay.
I was going to say, I had the same issue and I played on easy.
It is worth mentioning that some of the manuscript pages you can only get on Nightmare difficulty, which is the harder than hard difficulty.
Yeah, they have a specific symbol next to them.
I actually beat this game on Nightmare back in the day, in 2010.
What? Wow.
I don't know how, because I don't play any games on hard difficulties usually, but I did it for the achievement, because I was an achievement whore.
That's impressive, though.
I did a lot of running.
I would assume so, yeah.
There's a lot of parts where you see a light, you just fucking book it. Don't even bother fighting. You just book. And you can book a lot in this game and skip.
Yeah, I can see that.
Maybe not. Because I was hoarding all my items, but
this is one of the most unemasculating things when you run up to one of those light poles and the bulb bursts just as you get to it. It's oh man. Because whenever you stand in the light, your health regenerates and it auto-saves your checkpoint. So to have one of those bursts just as you get to it, you're like, oh damn it, I gotta find the next one.
And the second part of Chapter 5, or Episode 5, is kind of I don't like it as much, where you're going through the dam, you're fighting guys, you meet Cynthia Weaver, and she's like, you have to do this, and you have to do that, and I have this thing that Thomas gave me hidden in here in the room that never... I forget, there's a name, she calls it something.
The well-lit room.
Yeah, the well-lit room.
Which, it's interesting.
The sprint on the dam running away from the tornado is just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, the whole dam segment is kind of awful. It is nice they give you a spotlight at the top of it for a little bit, but yeah, it does suck.
Oh yeah, that was cool with the helicopter spotlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's neat.
And then, of course, while you're going to the well-lit room with her, finally, once you get caught up, No, actually, but the helicopter goes down that the sheriff and Barry are in.
Yeah,
So
it's as you're going with Cynthia to the well-lit room, the Barry calls and the helicopter goes down.
And you see it go down, and that's when Alan decides that he wants to go make sure they're okay. Even though from what you saw, there was an explosion.
Yeah,
well, lo and behold, you go there, and they're completely fine.
They should not be.
No. But yeah, you finally get them, and then you actually get to the well-lit room, and then that's where, I guess, really the end game starts, I guess.
Well, the thing about it's interesting is the thing that he finds in the well-lit room is the clicker that he gave Alice from his childhood that his mom gave to him, and then you find out that he was created by Zane or something?
The clicker was.
The clicker was created by Zane, but Zane wrote about his childhood. When he was 7, the page that is in the box with the clicker is the page that he writes about Alan when he was 7 years old and received the clicker from his mom.
Okay.
I think at some point during this cutscene, he talks about how the shoebox is exempt from all the stuff that Thomas Zane omits from reality.
Yeah.
He's got the clicker in the page.
Oh, and then, like, the whole part when he gets a clicker and he's like, Barry, take Sheriff's gun, and, like, she's staying here. Like, this whole part, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, just tell her to stay.
She's ready to throw down again. She wants to go kill some more Taken.
It just seemed weird to me. He makes Barry take the gun.
Honestly, I think her motive is she wants to clear off the missing persons board. Because that thing is overfilled. And she's like, if we take out more Taken, I can clear off the missing persons. We can finally put up some other stuff.
Like, that was John Johnson. I know him. Oh, he's dead. We don't take off that mission poster. I just shot him in the face. Okay, we're good. But, like, after you get the clicker and then he goes off to go to Cauldron Lake, this is when, and you have another flashback from 2 years ago, and all I could think of, man, Alan is an asshole.
Yeah, he goes off. This is when he, like, really, really goes off on Alice, though.
Yeah, where he's all hungover because he was drinking all night and he was out partying with Barry because he did a TV thing and or an interview or something. And it's just like, he really is such an ass to her when she comes home. And she's like, I even let you sleep in. It's 1 o'clock. I didn't even take, like, it's just, I'm like, what the fuck?
I do like the inversion of this where you're trying to fight light during the beginning of this segment because he's hungover, so you got to find the sunglasses and the painkillers to dull the pain from the light.
I didn't catch that. That's a good point.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. Just to show how much Alan's changed, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely a twist.
The biggest, like, the part that really hit me about the advertising, when you start episode 6, it opens up, like, when you're back in control after the cutscene, right in front of a Verizon sign.
That's what I was talking about. It's literally just a giant billboard for Verizon. I was like, huh, interesting. Yeah, and that's probably the biggest product placement in the game. It's just Verizon.
It's
I don't mind product placement when it fits. Like, it fits in this world. Like, I'm okay with it because there would be billboards like that. Yes, I would rather have something that's creative for the game, but that's fine. Like, you know, it's not like we're in Doom, we're on Mars, and you're going, hey, sign up for AT&T. Like, I'm okay with it being there.
Yeah, no,
it's funny because, you know, we know why it's there.
It's never directly spoken like, hey, you should switch to TNT to get this much money off your cell phone bill. It's just there.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a whole lot to say about majority episode 6 when you're just getting to Cauldron Lake.
I hate this whole segment.
The game just won't end.
Yeah.
Well, because like there's.
Oh well, if you actually like pay attention, you kind of pass every major point in the game as you're traveling there.
Like you can, because you're going from the dam to the lake.
Yeah, you can see the farm. You can see like the bridge. Like where it says like welcome to, I can't even remember the freaking name of this town at this point. Bright Falls. You pass, I don't think you pass the lodge, but I think at one point you can see the lodge. But like there's a bunch of different spots where you can pass the logging place where you fight Stucky and all that stuff.
Oh, I didn't catch it. I didn't really pay attention to that, I guess, either.
So I think when you're going to the radio station or lawn, you can see Carl Stucky's gas station in the distance.
Yeah.
It feels like a lived-in world. It's pretty cool.
And it does let you drive a lot in this chapter, at least.
I guess, yeah, that's kind of the crappy part, it is a long drive. But also, a thing I guess to notice from the well-lit room to this part is the reason he's going back is obviously to save Alice and, like, the cabin and everything. But also, he's going back because he mentions it is the last page is in the typewriter and he needs to write out the ending.
Mm-hmm. And one of the one of the script pages he's found says that he grips the clicker, takes a deep breath, and jumps into the lake.
And I think that's the last manuscript, right? Because that's him going into the lake to go type the last page, technically.
Well, he understands that in this world you can't. I think it's somewhere it's mentioned probably in the ending area where Thomas Zane's mistake was that he didn't realize that you can't just write, oh, this will be better. There has to be consequences for these actions. Someone has to suffer. It's a horror story, so not everyone can survive, and he understands that.
Yeah, because when he's talking to Cynthia in the power plant, we get some backstory on her being in love with Thomas Zane, who was in love with Barbara Jagger. But when she died, he brought her back with the darkness, and she came back wrong. So now the darkness basically wears her face.
Yeah, because she is the dark presence, right?
Yeah.
Because anything written on that lake somehow can become real.
Yeah.
So that's why she tricked Alan Wake to go there, because she needed an artist to be there to become real.
But him getting to the lake ensues my second least favorite boss fight of the entire game, where you fight the tornado of darkness with all the freaking goddamn large objects in it, aka boats, fucking construction equipment, and planes.
But you get infinite ammo.
Yeah, you do, but it's still annoying.
Just getting there is a freaking hassle, because there's even an achievement for getting from the dam to the lake in under a half an hour, which I don't have. It just goes on forever, and the checkpoints are complete bullshit. It felt like Ratchet and Clank all over again, because I would get so far and then I would die, and I'm like, I'm all the way back here. What the hell?
So, fun fact, this is the part where I tell you guys I didn't actually beat this game. I got to this chapter, and I was at work today, and I was like, shit, I need to know what happens. So I popped up, a gameplay of this last chapter, and I literally skipped most of it, because I was like, it's just driving.
It goes on forever. There's so many fights throughout it. But it does end with, possibly my favorite objective in any video game of destroy the tornado.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn good.
And the fact they give you infinite flare gun ammo, I just went to town just shooting for no reason.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't do anything because I didn't go close enough. I just kept shooting for no reason.
You can burn away the stuff that's floating around it.
I was missing. So, didn't do a lot, but it's still a cool moment. I agree that boss fight is stupid in the last chapter, but overall, I still enjoyed it, even though I know it's padding. Because again, 2010, I feel we were still padding games to make them longer just because.
Yeah, because a game was valued by how long it was.
Probably still wasn't 2010. Definitely in 2002, as we're seeing. But I think 2010 maybe still.
I guess also another reason it's honestly a good final boss fight is because you have to fight it. How else are you going to fight the darkness? You can't keep fighting Taken. What's a good way to end you fighting the darkness? The tornado.
You see this tornado several times throughout the game, so.
So yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I'm not saying it doesn't fit. It just sucks.
Agreed. I won't disagree with you. It's better than some final boss fights in games. Well, that I might have played recently.
Is this where he jumps? This is where he jumps into the lake, or is this after?
He gets to the typewriter.
Yeah, he does do the typewriter thing right before.
Because he sees Thomas Zane at some point as the diver.
I can't remember. He does throughout the game, which we haven't really mentioned because Thomas Zane is always in a diver suit. Yeah. But it might be. I think when he's having flashbacks, or at some point in flashback, he realized Thomas Zane was holding off the darkness to let him write himself. That's how he escaped.
Mm-hmm. Because
Thomas Zane is able to kind of get to him. He gets to his car. He's all druggy, doesn't know what the hell's going on, and drives off and crashes.
Yeah, Thomas Zane is just the fighter of darkness.
In a diving suit from the 1920s.
That illuminates a fuck ton of light.
Not know why, because when if I think of something that's going to illuminate light, diving suit would not be the thing that comes to my mind, but hey.
I mean, after BioShock, he just looks like a big daddy.
Yeah, BioShock ruined all diving suits.
It's so true.
Yeah, this didn't have a drill attached to it.
Exactly. That's why it ruined all diving suits. No other diving suits have drills attached to them.
It's a weird moment. And then this game kind of ends, I think we're just about there with the whole Like, he starts typing the typewriter where he types out that Alice is saved and the darkness is stopped, but he also realizes that to save Alice, he has to sacrifice himself. And that's where he says the darkness isn't a lake, it's an ocean.
Oh, yeah, that's when he sees Thomas, because we see the duplicate of Alan's, like, your friends will need this after you're gone, because he knows to bring Alice back, he has to stay.
Yeah.
But,
that's
how he takes out the dark...
That's not touched on very well, though.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. You have to really deep dive to find that stuff out, which is what I had to do.
A lot of this ending is very ambiguous about what it means. But the way he takes out the dark presence is pretty awesome. Because Thomas Zane says at some point about how Barbara Jagger came back, but there was something missing out of her. It's like she was missing her heart or something. And when you confront her...
He basically, what he said was like he stuck his hand in to rip the heart out of the darkness, but he ripped it out and nothing took its place and nothing like happened. So she just became more disfigured or something. And then that's when you find out that the clicker is supposed to be the thing that goes in to like create the
and you are right. He does jump in the water and then do the clicker thing after you beat the tornado.
Because you see Barbara back in the cabin with the giant hole in her chest, and he just shoves the clicker in there and click.
Yeah, and she dies from it, and that's when he jumps in the lake. But when he jumps in the lake, it's the scene from the beginning with Alice, like, drowning. But behind her, you can see the darkness pulling her in, but then all of a sudden, the darkness is gone, and she starts swimming up.
Yeah, and the line she also says is, "Alan, wake up." And then the game ends on that. But right before that, there's a scene where he's in New York, but it's not Alice, it's the darkness, and you're walking around, and she keeps kind of teleporting around the apartment and stuff.
Yeah.
And she's not scared of the dark.
Yeah.
I like
more of that, trying to make him think he's crazy.
He's just crazy.
Yeah, well, you would be too after all this.
Yeah.
I actually found out a cool thing about it's not a lake, it's an ocean. I did some deep diving on that afterwards, because it's a weird thing to say.
No pun intended.
I don't know if you guys... Good one, actually. I don't know if... Did you guys ever really look into that?
No.
So I actually went and was Googling it, trying to figure out exactly what it meant, because it's such a weird thing to leave off on. And obviously there's a couple DLC to this game or something that came out later that kind of
mention it brief, but
yeah. I was gonna say I didn't play it, but it's not a lake, it's an ocean can actually mean because of the fact of the darkness, and when you look when he dives down into it and Alice is sinking, it's so dark. What people think it means of it being a lake or an ocean, not a lake, is that it's actually the lake is actually an ocean, just turned sideways.
Ooh.
So it is super, 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 super deep because it's just a flipped over to the side ocean. And
that's interesting.
Yeah. It's a really cool fan theory that I went into. I didn't go super into it, but I read it and I was like, that makes sense. It's a good thought, and it's really cool if you think about it. Just an ocean just flipped to the side, and it's just that deep, as wide as a normal ocean is.
I just kind of figured it was a metaphor for the magic of the lake, where it goes a lot further than everyone thought it did.
Well, I mean, that's also a common fan theory, but I wanted to go with the one that was a little bit more.
That one I think does make sense too. And the final little part, after you jump into the darkness before it gets to the typewriter we've been talking about, you run across these small islands you're trying to get to the cabin, and you see all these different words that you can shine on, and then things happen.
Yeah, it creates the objects.
That's what the DLC that we are not going to be talking about, that might be on a mini someday, maybe. That's in the DLC a lot. Yeah, I have my own opinion about the DLC. I haven't played it in a while.
I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying I'd come back for it. I'd play it and come back.
And we might do it someday, but not anytime soon.
Fantastic. I don't really want to dive back into this game. It kind of fucked me up a little bit.
And this is when he finally gets to the house, and he writes in the note the ocean thing. He stabs her with a clicker, but it's really fucking good.
It is. It's a really good ending, honestly.
Yeah, and then we see the town back to normal. Deerfest is going on.
Yep.
I love that. And Alice climbs out of the water, and she's just coughing. They're probably going to be wondering.
She's been swimming for 10 days.
It's just fucked up, asking where Alan is.
I do like, and then Deerfest is finally happening.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I like the shot of Rose holding the lamp with Nightingale standing in the dark behind her. They're the new embodiments of the light and dark.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it was a weird thing to end on, and that's why I was confused because I was like, "Is there going to be a second game?" And I was like, "This happened in 2010. Like it's 2020. There's no fucking second game. Like
There was supposed to be.
So we got the 2 DLCs, which I know nothing about, and then only very, very recently, Control, Remedy's 3rd game or 2nd game after this one.
There's also American Nightmare.
Oh yeah, there is that.
But that does not, and I repeat, does not wrap up the story.
Yeah.
Anyway, Control got DLC that's loosely based, or it's got some references to Alan Wake, where it kind of tries to explain some stuff, apparently, which I have not played.
But I really want to.
Yeah, me too.
Same.
I play Control. Control's great.
I need to
Except
play
for the end. It suffers from some Alan Wake stuff where the end's kind of bullshit.
Can't win them all.
Any last thing to say before we go on to a couple questions, comments, and memories? I have a few for this.
I don't think so.
I mean, it's my first time playing through it, so not a whole lot. I thought it was definitely think it was worth the playthrough. It was really cool. I am a person who is awful with horror games. I've tried playing Outlast, and like I can watch horror movies all day, every day. Does not matter. Can watch them all the time. If you put me behind and controlling a person in the like horror story, no, we're done.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. Like, I think it's something about movies where I don't have any kind of control over what's happening. Like, that freaks me out more.
I don't know. It's like I can rationalize movies, and like obviously I could rationalize a video game like this, but like when you're controlling them and like you're trying to deal with, like, for me it's like dealing with the stuff as they're dealing with it. I'm just like, no, I can't. Nope.
I can understand that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, I think we'll go to questions, comments, or memories. I actually have a few for this. First, from the Overblood group, a few people did answer. First one from Jordan Bay. So I actually just decided to replay this a week ago. I love to know how you all feel about the story to gameplay balance. I don't remember later in the game, but during the early chapters, at least, it's a very clear cut where you get story at the start, a big gauntlet of fights, and then some story at the end. I kind of wish that was set up in a way that gave you a breather somewhere in the middle as well, because those walking through the dark and fighting sections can get pretty long. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do think they get long, but I mean, like how we all kind of described it while going through you do get those parts of you're playing in the daytime and like you're kind of like it's kind of a little relaxed period, like gathering some other information and stuff, and it made it very playable, like very easy to play through. Yeah, I think it makes it really easy to play through all the way.
And then this one from Jared Michael. As for my memories, I remember riding my bike, which had a flat tire, for 4 miles to Blockbuster to go rent this game. That when I finally got to play it, I remember playing it like it was a TV show. So after the end of each episode, I waited a day to play the next part. Okay, that's kind of cool.
Hey, Alone in the Dark 08 does the same thing.
You just really want to play that, don't you? This is also one of the very few games that I put down the controller to listen to the music. When War by Poets of the Fall came on, I stopped and listened to the song and instantly went and looked it up on YouTube. Yeah, all the songs are by War of the Poet, or by Poets of the Fall, that's what it is. And they're a real band, so check them out. Kind of good. From Luke Miller. So this is a game that is honestly one of my favorites of last gen. You have good taste, sir. And up there for games of all time. My first Remedy game, we randomly picked it up used at GameStop. I basically went in blind, and boy, did it blow me away. The underlying mystery of it all, the whole TV show style delivery, the combat, everything clicked for me. I freaking loved it. And the sequel tease at the end, so good. If only there was a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
True. I do think like the radios that you can look at, like listen to, and the TV shows that you can watch throughout the game add a really cool aspect to the game that like other games don't have, that make it like you always kind of want to find the next part of it.
Yeah.
And this one from Connor Campbell. What is the moment you knew you were going to play this game from beginning to end? I always have this moment for books, but would love to hear if you had it for a video game. Well, it's when someone picks it for the podcast and it gets put on the list and I go, oh, I guess I'm playing this. Okay. Also, in normal cases, any game I pick, I'm going to play it from beginning to end unless something terrible happens, because that's me.
I think I said right at the top of the episode that, like, as soon as I heard that this was about a writer who found pages describing what was happening, like, I was instantly on board. It's just such a cool concept.
For me, it was probably, like, I've always wanted to play this game. Like, after a couple of years after it came out and, like, seeing things on YouTube and, like, hearing about how good of a game it is, and, like, even to this day, like, you still hear that, and, like, I mean, I can now attest to it and also agree with it, like, made me want to play it. I just never had the time, and then kind of basically what Mike said, was told that we're doing it for the podcast, and I actually played it, and it was totally worth it.
After I guessed it on your show, I was like, hey, and I sent you a list, like, I've been meaning to play Alan Wake for a long time, I'll try that.
Yeah, it was like, finally, I get to buy it and actually sit down and play it. I have a reason to.
Nice. And if you like horror games, you should definitely check out Parasite Eve someday if you want to play a horror game that's not really a horror game.
Oh, yeah. And Dead Space.
Yeah.
I do need to get through Dead Space. I did enjoy the little bit I played of it.
It's really good. And this one from...
That was a good question, I want to say. We need more questions.
We don't get a lot of questions, Ashley, so that was kind of cool. So here's another one from Lucas Adam. My favorite part of the game is the ending. The cut to black and then space oddities slowly fading in gave me some serious chills. From Jack Kimberlin, I still think this is Remedy's best and most fleshed out game / narrative. I think Remedy thinks that too, since they're trying to bring back the Wake first. Also, I'm pretty sure the cancellation of Alan Wake 2 is classified as a hate crime in most countries. Unclear how they got away with it.
Should be put on the Geneva Convention.
I am really bummed that I think that's one reason I'm very I don't like the DLC because it doesn't wrap up the story, and American Nightmare, which will probably be on the show someday, adds a little bit more but still doesn't wrap up the story.
Sequel was in development but was canceled. However, the scrap sequel became the foundation and inspiration of Remedy's next title, Quantum Break, even though it has nothing to do with Alan Wake.
I was going to say, that game has nothing to do with it.
Nope, not at all.
But the DLC expansion does or something, I guess. Someday Control will be on the show when it's older. All right, from Kyle, the last one from this group, but I have a couple others I'm going to read. From Kyle Smith, I picked it up totally on a whim. A Steam sale, I think. No one I knew had played it, but it looked like a combination of Twin Peaks with Stephen King now, so I gave it a go. I spent the next several nights only playing at night, because it's a horror game, staying up way later than I should have, but every bit of it was a blast. I played this during the day, because that's how you play horror games.
If you don't want to fucking hate yourself, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to read a couple from the official Laser Time group. From Nick Turner, I really enjoyed this game, and having not played Control, I think it's my favorite Remedy game. I think this has one of the best final lines of any game ever. Okay. From Nick Crowley, I guess, or Alan Wake Up. I love watching the Twilight Zone-ish shorts on the TVs. I hit the button and run away when I play, but I'm glad that you watch them.
Gotta get that collectible number.
That's all I did it for. I don't care about achievements or anything on Steam. I played this in Epic, so I didn't have anything. I just did it just because it's ingrained in me.
Actually, with this playthrough, I got all the radio shows, and I found a couple of the thermoses that I didn't have. So
I helped you out. I hope you get an achievement, or get closer to an achievement.
I got the radio shows.
From Alex Crowley, one of my favorite games of all time. I love the Stephen King Twin Peaks 5 soundtrack is awesome. You are right. And then this is from the Survival Horror Sanctuary. I have a couple of things to read. From Jay Kelly, my only complaint is that there was never a proper sequel. I agree. From Evie Epmal, I gotta say, if your first name is Evie, that is super cool person. That game was a big influence in me getting an Xbox. This is a good one. From Saul Silva, come on, play the coconut. I died and come to hell. That's what the old guys say when you play the song.
Yeah.
Great. And from Saul Silva, this is kind of what we mentioned earlier. Damn, this game is great. As soon as it was available on Xbox Game Pass, I installed it and played it again. It's not really horror as others, no blood and gore, but it's horror in a unique way. Only complaint, I never really understood the ending. Don't worry, no one does.
I mean, if you listen to this podcast all the way through, you might now.
I don't think Remedy fully understands it, to be honest.
It's a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
It makes more sense after you play the DLC, and after you play American Nightmare, it does, you do get some, but you still don't get an ending. You can tell that second game was needed to really wrap up the story.
Right.
And from Casey Gardner, what bothered me was the ending. Where's my Alan Wake sequel to wrap up the story? Yeah, me too. This we didn't mention, but I want to bring this up. From Tony Harlan, my only complaint is not enough diversity with the enemies.
Yeah, there are no female taken at all.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But unless he just means enemy types, which, there's only 5. We didn't even mention the goo that you burned away.
Well, another thing that could have worked was there's a point in one of the it's episode 1 or I think it's episode 2 where you come across a sign in the forest that says beware of bears. Do you know the amount of taken fucking God, what's the word I'm looking for? Animals and stuff could have been there. Fighting a taken bear would have been the worst thing ever.
Could have been like Resident Evil Outbreak where you fight the zombified zoo animals.
Yeah, they could have done stuff with the actual animals in the forest.
God, that would have been... that would have sucked.
Yeah, imagine walking through the farm and all of a sudden out of a corner a taken raccoon jumps onto your face.
Okay, that would have been cool.
The taken bear sounds like it'd been awful to fight.
Yeah, well, I mean, bears notoriously in any RPG are known as one of the hardest enemies, aka Skyrim, Dragon Age.
Yeah.
Any of those types of RPG, The Witcher, RPGs, make bears the hardest things to fight ever.
So true.
All right, and then the last comment I'm going to read from a fellow podcaster that I know, from Zero Brightness, a horror podcast. He wrote, no, 0 out of 10 and wrong, because they said this is one of my favorite games of last generation. If you want to hear a whole episode about someone who doesn't like Alan Wake, go to his podcast. He did a whole episode. He hates this game.
Wow.
He's wrong. He hates
Weird.
this game. Well, he likes horror games, so, what can you say?
Yeah.
I don't like horror games. So definitely check out his podcast. I'll have a link in the show notes, I think. And I think any last things, I guess we should go to Shelf or Box, shouldn't we?
Yep.
Let's go to Shelf or Box.
Let's go to Shelf or Box.
I'll go first. I think it's obvious. This is going on the shelf. I loved this game when I played it in 2010, 2011. I loved this game when I played it in 2017, 2018. I loved this game when I played it in 2020. It's just such a good game. So if you haven't played it, we ruined the story for you. I'm sorry. But play it. You might even have it for free on Epic, because it was free on Epic at least once. That's how I played it. So if you're like me and download the game free every time they show up, you can probably have it on there. Give it a try. I mean, I should have said that at the opening of this episode, which I might fix that. But check it out. It's going on the shelf. I'm so happy we put it on the show and started Spooktober off with a bang. How about you, Mike?
As mentioned, it's on Game Pass too right now. So
yeah.
It's definitely going on the shelf. Like, I think I've mentioned on the podcast before, my wife and I have been watching Castle, which is Nathan Fillion as a writer, and it always has me excited to experience anything else writer related. And the fact that this is one of those rare games that made me give a shit about the story and the characters is a testament to how much I liked it. So,
you hear me clapping?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
does it deserve to clap? Because you don't say that
rare.
normally.
Oh, no. Like, I hate stories in games more or less, because, like, I can't watch movies unless I'm doing something else, like usually I'm playing on the Switch or something. Yeah, so the fact that it made me care about the story and what's happening and what's going to happen to these characters it's huge for me. And the fact that we never got a sequel kind of sparks that Silent Hill style discussion where, oh man, it could mean this and maybe this is going to happen. I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, shelf for sure, definitely.
Okay. And how about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I would agree with both of you. I think it definitely goes on the shelf. It was my first time playing it in 2020, and I think it held up today, like compared to any other game I played. Story overall really good. I mean, running through the forest sucked at some times, but overall, I think it's definitely something worth playing if you're like into horror stuff or just like thriller mystery. Like it falls under all those categories, and it does a really good job of like just sucking you in with every episode.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those horror games that's not big on spooks and scares. So if you're a wiener like we are, then it's perfect.
Yeah.
You're going to notice with this Spooktober, there's nothing really like, our schedule changed a little bit, and there's not, I mean, there's spooky games, but...
That's why we have 7 weeks now. We're going for quantity over quality of spooks.
Well, I mean, hey, we're playing one of the best spook games ever, Blood Omen 2. I mean, come on now. Yeah, I know.
Another 2002 masterpiece.
But that is not next week's game. I'm going to introduce next week's game, because it's my pick, and a very, very spooky game for Spooktober. We're playing Luigi's Mansion for GameCube.
Oh, God.
Yeah, don't put your flashlights away just yet.
Yeah, good luck, everyone, playing that.
It's still good.
It is
still good. I just beat it this morning. I beat it earlier today. Still good. So, spoiler for next week's episode. I didn't mean to do that. I'm like, oops, oh well. All right, and I think we should go out with a few plugs. Jeff, since you're the guest, why don't you mention where people can find you about your podcast real quick?
Yeah, so yet again, I do a podcast called You Hate to See It with my two friends, Nick and Adam. It's just a big thing of us just drinking and having a conversation. You can find us, and we have guests every once in a while. Mike was on there. Definitely go listen to that episode. It was a good one. It's called Word Nerding Out. You can find us anywhere the podcasts are played at You Hate to See It. You can find us on any social media, also at the same name of You Hate to See It. Twitter, it is at YOUH82CIT. And yeah, that's my plug.
All right. And I want to give an awesome shout out to our awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Bulby, aka Mike Stoney, from his EP Bite the Bullet song, The Cool Kid Squad. Definitely check him out. And there'll be a link in the show note to his YouTube channel. I also just did an interview with him recently, so that will be up. So if you want to hear all about video game music from the guy we've been playing his intro for over a year and a half, check that out. Also want to give another shout out to N3RD Radio. There'll be a link in the show notes to a 8-hour streaming podcast. If you want to hear that, definitely follow the links in the show notes. Also want to say, if you enjoyed this episode, we do tons of other episodes. We have Spooktober episodes from last year to check out. We have tons of regular game episodes. We have comics. We have movies. We have mini episodes for you to check out. And there'll be more coming at the time you're hearing this. So definitely check those out. And if you like the show, please tell somebody. Tell a friend. Tell an enemy. Let somebody know how much you enjoy Games My Mom Found. And please follow us on social media. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where I'm constantly posting new images of what's upcoming with the show. And I think that's all I need to say. So thank you, Jeff, for coming on. And we will see you guys all next time.
Gear up for a fun Spooktober.
Thanks for having me, guys. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
It was fun. Yeah. And bye, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.